Hello guys and welcome back. Today I'm going to actually be doing a few things. First of all, I'm going to actually show you guys what the scale of terror looks like because we did manage to finish off how it actually should look like. So if you actually are looking at the screen right now, you should be able to see what a scale of terror is. Next, let's go into the next topic for hecagram. I believe that it is time to talk about magic and technology. It's an actual interesting topic to get into because it's not just a simple situation of like saying, oh, well, they have technology based in the medieval era. I personally think that if you're going to create your own world, if you're going to make something that is something you can actually look at and say, ah, that is feasible, you should probably think about how magic affects technology, how your world affects technology. If there are monsters, of course, there'll be weaponry. If there's war, then of course, there's ways to go against magic if other people use magic. And if there's magic, well, let's say that you have magic that can be used to control metal, right? If you shoot at one, there's a fear that he might be able to catch the bullet. And let's say that some magical capability of someone was to do so. Let's say that there was someone who's strong enough to capture this metal bullet in the air being flung at him at high speeds. Well, that's going to deter people from making bullets that can shoot multiple, because then you have the idea of, well, if I shoot him multiple times, he's just going to catch all of them and send them back at me. But if I make it harder for him to catch that bullet, or if I use more expensive material for the bullets, making it so that the bullet itself is made of maybe something that's not controllable, or at least that we know is not controllable, then we would be able to do that. But then I wouldn't want to shoot a lot of them. So therefore, a multi-shot weapon, such as like a automatic weapon of some kind, wouldn't be as used as a single-shot sniper rifle or something even stronger, like a railgun or something like that. So technology would be skewed towards single-shot weaponry rather than an automatic weaponry, just for an example of that small scale. There is a lot of things that can happen too. Let's say that you have one people who are the technology wizards, the people who make technology, such as the Euros. Well, if the Euros are making this technology, they're usually going to go against it, and it's going to be anti-magic because a lot of the Euros can't use magic, and every other race has magical capabilities. So of course, when they make this type of weaponry going against other races and such, well, it's going to be something that would go against their magical capabilities. So we get anti-magic weaponry and anti-magic technology in that way. And let's say that there is a point of luxury where they can actually develop things. Well, if telecommunications can be done via mental magics of sorts, like you can, in my world, there is a ability where you can mentally link to other people and such. Well, a telephone wouldn't be as useful as that, but radio could be in handy if there are people who can't use magic, you know? So in other races, things like radios, things like telephones probably wouldn't be as useful for those people unless it's super far range, compared to the Euros, who kind of need to develop that for a means of communication between the troops as quickly as possible, especially against people who can mentally just link to each other. Or maybe they could find some way to jam magic in some way, shape, or form. And that would be a major primary research to go into. So maybe something with nullification can occur. Things that have happened in my will. The idea is, when you have magic and you have these specific instances of what is in your world, you have to think like the people in your world and how that develops the magic and as well, and how that develops the magic and technology of the world. Um, a big one would be transportation. That's always something that people want to look into. If portals exist, like you can make a teleportation sigil and you move that along, then that can be your primary means of transportation. How does that get resolved? How does that actually work out? What does that actually do? Is there going to be a hub of sorts where you could teleport to one spot and then teleport to others, or is it going to be like a keylogger system where if you know the passwords to a specific teleportation circle and you use a teleportation circle, you can go to the next one. These are all things to consider when you're making a world and how it is seen, how it's developed, and how it can actually work out. Because you don't want to make a world that makes no sense. You want everything to kind of work together so that you can have a bigger picture that is believable. That is the main part of making anything. You want it to be believable in the context of itself, because that's all you really do with fiction. With a living world where you have people who are actively messing with your world, you have to be that person who goes, does that make sense? Because we as human beings do not exist in a world of Euros, Nemods, Terrans, etc. People don't exist in their fictional worlds per se, but we do exist in a mental way. It's like an isekai. We are isekai'd into these worlds and have to develop things. But the difference is, we shouldn't have the knowledge of our actual world when we're doing it, because then that can mess with some of the technology, that can mess with the magic, unless that's your theme, which is an interesting idea. That's why isekai exists. But yeah, it's something that you have to take in mind. If you are in this world, born in this world, living through this world, you wouldn't have the knowledges that we do outside of it. So, how does that impact the world's technology? What new devices are existent because of it? What similarities may exist because we are only human and can only take context from what is our surroundings? But how does it make sense in our world? A cool example of a device that is similar to something that we would use in our world, but is completely unique in theirs, is in One Piece. The Denden Mushi is basically a radio, but with psychic snails, which is a cool concept of itself. So they don't have radios because in their world it's not at that level of technology, or it's not that thing, except for probably where Vegapunk stuff is, because that's just what they do, and Frankie stuff, I guess. But they make it so that in the world it is common that Denden Mushi exists, a form of communication. It's kind of hard to use One Piece as an example because their world has a lot of cool stuff in different areas, and depending on what region you are, it has different technologies and stuff like that. It's a very flushed out world in that regard. So it's one of those things. But it is all something that makes sense within the world itself, and that is the main point. So when you're making your world, just make it make sense. That's all you can really do. But with magic and technology influencing things, of course, you have to keep in mind what is influence and how it's influencing the world. If I exist inside of your world and I only know whatever I was born with, I'm going to use those rules to create something new. If I know for a fact that I have the weaponry that is of this world, can I benefit by making it stronger against one specific thing in the world? Can I use enchantments and then make an enchanted weapon? And then how does that go further? If those enchantments can act off each other, could I chain them? Could I make a combination of enchantments that do one action? Is it like coding, where I can say, if certain thing happens, then this occurs? How does the rules of the magic of the world work, and how can that help me develop a new technology? And how would I come about developing the technology? Why would I want to do that? Those are all questions that you should ask. But yeah, that is today's video, just talking about how magic technology exists in the world and how one can actually have that impact between the two and how it could change how things work. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope that you like my new camera, my new microphone that I'm using right now, and hopefully it wasn't too staticky, because I've noticed that that's an issue that I've been having. I also noticed that the camera seems to be flashing and moving around, and I want to kind of fix that. Yeah, it's probably because my hand motions. Okay. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Ring the bell if you really want that stuff, all the YouTuber stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed, and again, if you guys are not aware, I have a gaming channel as well where I play games with my fiance and we have a nice, believable time. What should be coming up today would normally be my Have a Nice Death gameplay, but I had stopped doing so for the time being. Brad has defeated me for the time being, and I will get him back later. But I am thinking of trying to replace this slot with a different one. We'll see how that goes. Okay, you guys have a wonderful time. Goodbye.